right, we're here at the top of the hour. Welcome, everybody. My name is Nicolette, and I'm the moderator for our call today. It is so good to see you all. Thank you for joining us. It is such a joy to be with our community when we can. Thanks to those of you who are coming on video. I'll speak more about that in a moment. But I'm going to be your main source of support for the call today. So if you need anything, you can private message me and I will respond to you as quickly as I can. And we also have Ted Ryder here who's assisting as well. And of course, John will be joining us shortly. So these calls, for those of you who have never been on these calls before, they're 90-minute calls that have a practice theme. And our practice theme for this call is transmuting the drama triangle into the empowerment triangle. If you're not familiar with the drama triangle or the empowerment triangle, that is totally fine. John will speak more on that. But it's a really great framework, and we've been working with it in some of our longer term programs, and we wanted to share it with the full community, especially with this approach through embodiment. We love having you on video. Just want to make sure that all of you know that we do make this public on our YouTube channel and also on our virtual workshop. We unabashedly put these calls out there because it's important to us that our community has access to these teachings. So if you are not comfortable with the potential of your face and gallery view being on YouTube or on our virtual workshop, that is totally fine. You can go off video. There's absolutely no need to be on video if you don't want to. And you can also create a pseudonym if you prefer that. All of that is fine. If you end up asking a question, I'll just call the name that is there. Sometimes we put some of these, oops, if someone needs to be muted. Sometimes we put clips from these calls as well on our Instagram. So if you ask a question and you don't want to be on Instagram, just let us know, let me know, private message me so I can note that. Okay. If you do, once we get to the Q&A portion of the program, if you do want to ask a question, you can do that by using the raise hand button. You can access that through the reactions button, which is at the bottom of your screen, bottom right-hand corner on my screen. You click reactions and then there's a bar that says raise hand, and we'll let you know when it's time to ask questions. We try to get a variety of masculine practitioners, feminine practitioners, and couples. So I kind of pick and choose from that queue, but once you raise your hand, you are in the queue. The chat thread is there. Some of you have already been welcoming and introducing yourselves. It's great to feel that sense of community. You're welcome to use it to build community, to feel connected to one another. Please don't use it for content-based questions for John. He does not read the chat during the call. Also, we're really trusting you to bring true compassion and kindness to one another. We really are about building community on these calls. If you want to offer feedback or a resource or something like that, ask for permission first. And if the person says yes, then go for it. But otherwise, withhold any feedback, advice, resources, things like that, and really just stay with supporting. But as much as possible, try to stay out of the chat once we get into the core of the call, because we really want to keep our focus here on what's happening and the people that John is supporting. This is a free call, but we would appreciate support of Claire's Place Foundation. For those of you who don't know, Claire was John's late daughter. And actually, I'll put a link in the chat for a way that you can donate. Also right now, their Clarity Ball is happening, and there's a virtual auction happening. So if you're interested in donating or participating in those ways, there's some information for that. So if you have any questions throughout the course of the call, you can chat with me privately. I'm going to leave it there. I will also put in the chat a summary of what I just said. So if you missed anything that I said, it's totally okay. You'll get a summary. And I'm going to turn it over to John.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, you can hear me okay? See me okay? I mean, I'm a little backlit, but it's early here in LA. Yeah, so let me just say a little bit about Claire's Place. Kids with cystic fibrosis have been hit particularly hard during COVID. Having to literally getting COVID if you have cystic fibrosis is not quite a death sentence, but pretty damn close. And so they've been really struggling in terms of they can't work. A lot of the kids a lot of the young adults with cystic fibrosis can't work. And so what we at Claire's Place Foundation do is collect money and basically just give it to them to help them with hospital stays, medical bills, rent, that kind of stuff. But it goes directly to these funds go directly to kids and families struggling with cystic fibrosis. And anyway, so that's what that is about. It's near and dear to my heart because Claire struggled with these kids with CF. So I'm just putting it out there as COVID goes on and on and on. If you're doing well and you have some spare money, these kids with CF are just had a brutal fucking 2 years. So with that said, I want to get into this concept of the drama triangle and transmuting the drama triangle, just because I see it so much. So much of this work is about let me start with the separation here. We've got a spiritual approach, right? We've got a yogic approach, and then a therapeutic approach. And what we're trying to do in this work, I'm not a therapist, so there's only so much in the therapeutic approach I can do. But what we're trying to do when we talk about therapy, we're talking about, therapeutic approaches include shadow work. It includes, certain types of communication practices that make communication safe, like nonviolent communication or imago dialogue, those kinds of things. It's about creating a safe space for us to relate, because if we try to jump into the yoga or the spirituality, without having health, without being healthy, we're kind of fucked. Like, you guys all know people who are great yogis or great meditators, but they're a fucking mess. You know what I mean? Like, it's maybe you're one of those people. I've certainly been and am one of those people sometimes, and yet, so this sort of this three-legged stool of relational health, let's call it, includes all these things. There's a therapeutic approach, a health approach. David would call this stuff, in the second stage, David would call this second stage practice. And then in the third stage, we're talking about the yoga, the art, right? But if we try to jump to the yoga while we're still kind of stuck, we're not in a place of healthy communication, healthy self-reflection, healthy ownership of our own shit, so to speak. The yoga becomes very difficult to sustain. With me so far? Okay, yeah, and so, but oftentimes some of us will get stuck in this therapeutic realm, right? And not add the yoga to it. So we're just constantly in the, talking about shit or going to couples therapy or going to therapy ourselves, and we won't actually take the revelation of, take the revelations of the therapeutic work that we're doing and make it artful. Make sense? I just want to make sure everybody, I mean, most of you guys have heard my spiel before, but I'm trying to give a little bit of a different approach to it today. So one of the things that I see a lot, I've certainly done it. We all do it, but this drama triangle is just showing up more and more in our world. Even people who are in teacher training group, in the men's groups, the women's groups, like, we're all kind of seeing now how prevalent this model is, and it's from the 60s. Karpman, I think his name is Stephen Karpman, developed it, and in the drama triangle, there's a triangle, and we move in between these three areas of being a victim, a persecutor, or a rescuer, right? And sometimes we like to station ourselves somewhere in there, right? Like some of you may like be rescuers. I've certainly done that, right? I've certainly yeah, I mean, right after Claire died, I was very much a rescuer. For like, I just sort of like, I just needed to take care of people. I needed to take care of somebody. And so I definitely fell into that rescuer role. Sometimes we're, you know, persecuting. Now, none of us like to admit that. None of us like to admit that, but some of us were in the persecutor role where we're holding somebody down, or we're abusing them in some way. Often this can be super subtle. Neglect is a form of abuse. Blame is a form of abuse, right? So we can move in between these things. Sometimes we're the victims and we're pointing our finger at the persecutor, right? And when we do that, what do we often look for? We look for somebody to rescue us. So we'll start talking to our friends, we'll like talk to our communities, like get people to agree that we're being victimized, right? And so these things can be super subtle, and one of the tenets of this work is radical responsibility. Now, I'm not talking about a serious abuse situation. Let me just get that out of the way. If you're being like seriously abused, you know, physically abused, emotionally abused, those kinds of things, like, but this is not about that, right? This is about getting out and getting healthy, right? But for the most part, normal people that are pretty well-meaning and just want to love find themselves stuck in this triangle. Just making sense to you guys at some point of this? And jumping into the yoga without addressing these things is oftentimes a real detriment. So here we have this triangle. I'm going to have you guys journal on this a little bit today. So we're going to do a little bit of reflection on this today. So you'll just have journals, but I'll stop there and let you guys ask some questions, but I'm going to keep bringing it back to this framework of like, okay, where do you see yourself in this triangle? And then how do you move out of it, right? How do you set healthy boundaries? How do you take radical responsibility? You know, how do you move from being, you know, let's see the way that they put it, from being a victim to a thriver or a co-creator, right? A great move that I've seen in this, and I'll just give you one aspect of it, is okay, this is what it is, right? It is what it is, whatever it is, right? What do I want to create from this? What do I want to create from this, right? My partner is ... My partner works too much and isn't paying attention to me. Okay? Maybe this is a story some of you know. It is what it is. What do I want to create from this? Right there, you've moved from being the victim to the creator, right? Versus, he's never paying enough attention to me. He always works too much. He doesn't right? So, and this is, you know, that's just one example. She never appreciates what I do, or it's never enough for her. I mean, these are just common things I hear from men and women, right? Right there, you're in the victim. So it is what it is. She always wants more, right? What do I want to create with that? So this is tricky shit. This is not, I'm making it sound like, oh, so easy. It's not. I struggle with it. Everybody I work with struggles with it. It's what makes this work, you know, graduate level work, in my opinion. Okay. So with that said, I just wanted to give you a couple examples of how that works, but I'm going to keep bringing you back to the framework. So don't get mad at me if I keep bringing you back to where are you in this triangle, in this thing. Okay. I'm not going to let you like hold on to a victim position without challenging it. So.
And John, do you want us to share that visual aid now?
Yeah, okay. That would be lovely. Thank you.
All right, so Ted's gonna, before we go to questions, he's putting now up on the screen a visual aid of this drama triangle.
Yeah, feel free to copy this, use it. I just stole it from my friend Google. But this is a really good one in the sense that it gives you kind of a little bit of a cheat sheet on how to start paying attention to moving from one to the other. And then at the end of the call, we'll do a little embodiment practice on installing this stuff in your nervous system. Okay.
And we will link this in the chat as well, so you can reference it once we take it off the screen in just a moment.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm ready for questions, Nicolette, if you're ready to.
All right, so
Yeah.
you can go ahead and remove that, Ted. And we're going to start with Patty. Patty, if you're able to come on screen, please do, but otherwise that is totally fine if you want to stay off screen.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I can't do that right now.
That's totally fine.
I'm sort of like, yeah, so I'll fully go into my question, John. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have heard David say the person who holds the deepest breath holds the masculine.
Mm.
So when I have thought of this within the context of the drama triangle,
Mm-hmm.
I have thought that these sort of this idea of the breath and the consciousness pulls you into certain places. I know that if you haven't done the therapy, as you say, the cleaning up stuff, you won't get pulled as much. But there is, so my question is, what's this other like layer when you're doing the yoga?
Can you be more specific? I mean, that's a pretty general question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when this is playing, this drama triangle is playing out,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you've done the yoga or the therapy to not fall into this as much,
Right.
this sort of like leaves you out of a lot of potential partners.
You mean being in the triangle? I'm not trying to understand what leaves you out of potential partners.
Knowing how not to fall into it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's one way to look at it. I would argue that you're gonna fall into it. We're all gonna fall into it. Find me somebody who's not falling into this in some form or fashion.
Okay, I'm gonna. It gets a little tricky. What I'm trying to say.
Okay. I'm with
You're
you.
gonna fall into it, and if
Yeah.
you have this place of the deep breath, it will pull you into the savior.
Into a savior. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying like, okay, so you're equating.
Mm-hmm.
If you take it, if you're in the drama, I may want to make sure I'm understanding. If you're in a drama triangle moment and you start to deepen your breath, then all of a sudden you become the savior.
In a sense, yes.
Okay, I wouldn't look at it that way.
Okay.
You could have consciousness. So breath ignites consciousness. Breath ignites consciousness, right? Also pleasure, right? So breath is the key to both masculine and feminine practice, in my opinion. So it's hard to have deep pleasure without breath. It's hard to have deep consciousness, right? So when you're aware, so consciousness also sparks awareness. So when you're aware, I'm not so sure I mean, of course somebody could go into a savior role with a deep breath, but they could also become really aware, and they could be aware of what liberates love, right? So yeah, in a sense, third stage practice, if I'm going to use David's parlance, is not so much about being, in my opinion, not so much about being a savior. It's about liberating love. I mean, I guess you could say saving the moment, saving love, not saving a human. And that's the distinction I would make. Like codependence is I'm going to save you, right? Or I'm going to, change you, or I'm going to help you, or I'm going to da da da. The yogic piece is all about present moment liberation. So when you drop into a deep breath, or you drop into movement, or you do that kind of stuff, what you're doing is you're making a commitment to the present moment liberation of love. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. I'm getting something from what you're saying. I used to to equate going to full breath and consciousness as an embodiment of the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, cool for men who want to attract women, and like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I know what's happening here, I know what you need, I know what we need.
Mm-hmm.
But if as a woman I go into that, it's like not fun.
Well,
But
I imagine you have a partner that has an emotional body, right? Anytime your partner, your masculine partner, your male partner, right? It depending or whoever, it doesn't gender is not so important here. What matters is anytime your masculine partner is in emotional experience, they're in the feminine. So yeah, there are times when you absolutely will need to be the you know, they talk about it here as like going to, being the challenger. I also think that you can move from being the savior to being the holder of the moment or the liberator of the moment, right? So yeah, your masculine will be needed when your partner's in an emotional state, and and sometimes your feminine will be needed. But breath will be the key to igniting love and consciousness in the moment, if that's what you're asking. That doesn't change. Like the yoga never changes. But if you're doing that yoga, but there's still this kind of, let's think, the way that they talk about it in imago therapy that I love is there's a space in between two people who are relating. Like there's actually a space between you and I right now, right? And what that space is filled with could be constantly purified, cleaned by me understanding you, by me listening to you, by you, listening to me, and all those kinds of things. And in a relationship, this kind of awareness practice, getting aware of the drama triangle and using nonviolent communication or imago dialogue, clears that space, right? Because doing yoga while there's a bunch of shit, in between you two, is just going to get you both smeared with shit, right? And so there's a requirement for a real cleanliness in the space and yogic elevation, and they kind of all, and spiritual recognition, right? Like, so ultimately we want to be aware of our own human frailties and foibles and very compassionate to them, aware of our yogic presentation, how much are we pressing love and consciousness through our bodies, and aware of the spiritual truth that we are love and consciousness relating. And all those things kind of ebb and flow in a moment of relational health. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I'm trying to give a framework that everybody
yeah,
can
I get a
work with.
framework. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you want to, I mean, the first thing to do, here's what I'll get super practical. I think for all of us, you take a look. Where are you doing this? Where are you in the triangle, right? Where are you in it? Where are you persecuting your partner or somebody else? Where are you playing the victim? Where are you trying to save people? And get really clear, like, oh shit, here's what I'm doing. I'm actually disempowering myself and the moment. And then talk to your partner about it. Oh shit, I realize that I make you the persecutor like this. Or I realize I play the victim when I do this. Or I realize I'm trying to save you when I do this. Or, you know what I mean? Like, and get really honest about it. And what that does is it clears the space between you two. It purifies the space between you two. Now any yoga you do on top of that space is going to be enhanced. This is just my philosophy. Some people are like, hey, fuck it out. Like, I just want to, like, we're mad at each other. We've got a bunch of shit. Let's just fuck it out and it'll fix everything. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's great. And I'm not trying to say don't fuck it out, but sometimes that is the right move. And sometimes the right move is a little of both, right? Clear the space, then fuck it out. In a, the most spiritual way possible. Is there something that I'm missing, Patty? I'm trying to read you, but since I can't see you, I can't tell.
Um, I yeah, there's other things, but I'm not sure if this is like the moment to do so because it's what happens on a long term. when a partner is more able to embody. I see it as you describe the process of getting out of the triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Is that who's able to see what's going on, and that's why the
Can
breath.
you be more specific? Can you be more specific? Like, because are you saying like in a long-term relationship?
Yeah,
Because I'm trying to get. It really helps if we get specific about this. So, in a long-term relation, are you in a long-term relationship?
not right now.
Okay, so if you're in a long-term relationship, is that what I want to make sure I'm clear what you're asking?
Yeah, I want to see what happens as a pattern on a long-term relationship when it's one person who's constantly embodying this deeper state, who can see the triangle, who can come out of it.
And one person is not. When one person has a higher elevation than the other.
Yes.
Yeah, chances are that won't be a long-term relationship that lasts a long time,
Okay.
right? If one person is who's got awareness and embodiment, so if you're in a relationship with me and you're embodying love and embodying pleasure and seeing where I like make you the persecutor, right? And you try for a year, let's say, to help me see that, to bring me love, to give, to love me anyway, to see the God in me, to see the beauty in me, and you try that for a year. Are you going to want to hang around for another 2 or 3, 4, 5 years while I don't get it?
Mhm.
No. And why should you? You know what I mean? Like, I get that, marriages and kids and all these things, but we try it for a period of time. Could be 3 months, could be 6 months, could be a year, could be longer. We give it a really good shot of bringing our best practice. This is hopefully an answer to your question. And if the other partner doesn't elevate, why would we want to stay in it? Unless we are committed to playing the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying? Unless
Totally.
we're committed to playing the victim and then we're like, oh, I'm going to stay in it because I don't leave and da 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 da. And now we're the martyr.
Yeah. So I know that it's such a wide topic, and I try to get very practical about it.
Mm-hmm.
In a long-term relationship, you want to develop, yes, your ability to embody this consciousness that's able to see the triangle dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you want to make it long term, you need a person who's able to see as much as you do, sort of.
Well, there's going to be like they may, you guys have to be somewhat, it'd be like, let's say you're a great tennis player and you've worked for years to become a great tennis player and somebody on the other end never picked up a racket, doesn't like tennis, doesn't want to play tennis. How many games of tennis are you going to want to play with them? At
Hmm.
some point, we have to like take responsibility and be really honest about like who we're relating with and whether or not they want to meet us or whether or not they want to elevate. And yeah, and if we don't, then we have to, oftentimes we're missing this sort of our space in the drama triangle.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
That's,
welcome.
yeah.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank
Let
you,
me
Patty.
just let me kill the I'm gonna put these down so it can, so it's not so backlit here.
Okay. And our next person is going to be Anna Fox. So we'll bring you up, Anna.
Okay. All right, much better. Hello. Hi.
In part, you sort of just answered a bit of my question with the, like, if you decide to remain a victim, then you become the martyr. And as I was taking notes, I was like, if I decide to become the victim, then I'm imagining that I'm rescuing this person when really I'm just accepting their abuse, and then I become the martyr.
Then there's one other piece to this. Then you can become the persecutor. Then you become the
Oh, the
the
Punisher.
perpetrator, the
Yeah.
punisher, right? And that's where things get really, you know, that's where things get. You have to be super humble to be able to see like, oh shit, I've become the victim and the martyr so long that I'm now punishing them.
So this is what I'm looking at.
Okay.
I am not in a relationship right now. My relationship ended about 4 months ago. Everything was really gorgeous and conscious, and we decided all of these beautiful things. And part of the decision was like, we had gotten together sort of by accident right on the heels of this intense relationship that he had not finished processing. And so he was like, I got to go finish that before I can really commit to us. And I was like, okay, finish it, do it. there was also this, like, it's really complicated and dense. Since then, like, we decided not to talk for 3 months. I went directly into like victim because I'm like, my voice isn't being heard. I know that he's turning toward this other woman, even though I knew that this was going to happen. This is excruciating. And there was also this underlying thing where he had gaslit me, well, like at the beginning of our relationship when he had continued contact with his ex, and he only recently acknowledged it. And so I had this underlying, like, I fucking tracked this, and he had denied it.
Right.
And
okay, so like I said at the beginning of the call, I'm imagining that you knew to some degree or another that he had just gotten out of a very serious, intense relationship at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you knew that, right? And have you been in a serious, intense relationship before? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what, a month out of it, you're not ready to go in.
Oh God, no.
Okay. So there was and look, I am not judging. I'm just as guilty of all this as y'all, but you knew in some form or fashion, right? So, which is fine. Like, you chose love.
Yeah, that's
over safety.
I was just like, I fucking, like, this is an incredible being, and
right.
I want to be with them. And
awesome. So let me just follow me for a second, and then you can push back. So you chose love, because I'm pretty sure other people will relate to this. You chose love over safety. That's fucking beautiful. That's beautiful. I get it. So then it didn't work out, and it hurts. So when we don't want to be, and this is where we kind of get into the realm of the yogic, psycho-yogic space, let's call it. When we don't want to be with the hurt, we choose victim, persecutor, right? So this drama triangle happens when we don't want to feel the feelings like you are right now. And I'm sure you felt them. I'm sure you would say, I've wailed and wailed and wailed. And I totally believe you. And yet, every time we go into this victim, persecutor, savior triangle, it's a sign that there's something we're wanting to feel. And it may not just be about this guy, right? It may be older and karmic and mommy and daddy shit. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a blessing. I mean, so the moment that you go, all right, I knew I chose love consciously as a empowered, powerful, conscious woman. I chose love because that's what I am. I chose love over safety, right? And now it hurts. And now I'm in pain because all of my issue, my rejection, or all this, whatever it is, right? We all have it. So what do I want to create from here? And now the moment you do that, you've now stepped out of it. I just want to make sure, can everybody else kind of feel what I'm saying here? Because this is an important moment for all of us, right? The moment she goes, I'm going to warrior up and feel not that you're not doing this, I'm just saying this for everybody. I'm going to warrior up and feel to the fucking core of my spine the pain of being left, right? Or the pain of losing love. Then that's karmic changing work. So I want to stop there and see if there's something more that you want to say about that.
Yeah. Thank you for all of that.
Yeah, sure.
I've been lucky enough to have the spaces to really go in and dig deep and let myself feel it. And I've also looking at the triangle, because I've been working with this triangle for fucking years. And so I'm also looking at how I hold it within myself. Like, my masculine is my protector, and my child is my creator self, and my feminine is that one who wants to feel all the things and flow. And so my wondering right now is I want to create, I've been calling in healthy relationships. I've been calling in pleasure. That's what it is. And I don't know right now like, how much of a boundary do I set with this person? If I want to create safety, and I'm also looking around the world, like safety is just a concept that we can sort of feel within ourselves, but there's no
Right.
guarantee of anything.
None.
How much of a boundary do I create with this person while they're saying, I'm figuring this out, I'm giving myself these few weeks to do it, and I don't actually trust them anymore? And then I'm like, do I trust myself to set the boundaries that I really need to secure my base and my foundation?
Right.
What's
Right.
relationship?
So if what you want to call out or call in is a clean like a human who's in a clean space to step into relationship, not just a magnificent person and somebody who's done their work, but they have to be, free of other hooks, right?
Yeah.
Then I would argue setting a boundary with somebody who's got lots of hooks and saying, look, I'm blessed. So here's the difference, right? Setting a boundary from I don't trust you, fuck off, to I bless you and I want. So if you really love this person, don't you want him to be clear with this past relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, I know this is hard, right? But to bless him and say, please go find what you need to find there. Go close what you need to close there. Go learn what you need to learn there. I'm stepping away and I need this space and I'm blessing you. The prayer that I've been using lately is I forgive and release you completely and totally now and forever. Please forgive me completely and totally. Forgive and release me completely and totally now and forever. Amen. Right? And you just over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, like just let them go, let them go, let them go. I forgive you. Please forgive me. I forgive and release you completely and totally. Please forgive and release me completely and totally. So, and then you let him go and set the boundary. So how you set the boundary is as important. Like a boundary is just a neutral masculine. It's the masculine. A boundary is the masculine, right? It can be filled with bitterness or it can be filled with love. And it makes all the difference how you set it.
And how, when both exist there, when I have a very human and primal, like, fuck you and fuck her, and then there's that higher consciousness of like, well, everything happens for a reason and this is providing space for me to like, how do I
of course.
Conversation?
Yes. Okay, so that is for yourself, right? Unless he said, I want to hear all of your anger at me. Unless he's given you, like, you could ask, like, hey, can I just take 5 minutes to show you how angry and hurt I am? And if he says yes, fine. Like, step back and give a interpretive dance on your heartbreak, right? But most of the time it's not like that, right? So that is for you and maybe a woman's group or women you trust, right? Or maybe you have a couple male friends that you trust that you just to hold. Anybody who can hold that for you and for you. So that part, that fuck you, asshole, most of that is childhood wound stuff that's just bubbling to the surface because we all have it. That's not his. He probably tried to love you well. He probably did. And he realized I can't do this. This thing is still in my consciousness and I can't love this woman, this really wonderful woman who's loving me. I can't give her what she needs. I can't give her the kind of deeper claim that she wants because this is there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. So I had the same situation. I could not give the woman I was with a deep enough claim because I had to go grieve my daughter. It wasn't her fault. It was my fault because I did not finish grieving Claire. So sometimes we just have to take care of business before we can love the person in front of us. That doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make him bad. So that fuck you, you deserve that, and that's for you. Like that's for you. That's you loving you, And then for him, you're like, you can ask him if you ever want to hear, if you ever, I don't know, it just feels too soon. Maybe later.
Yeah.
Maybe
He
later.
said that at some point he would really wants to learn how to hold space for my anger, and I'm just like, okay.
So, but you,
And while owning it, while
Right.
owning my stuff and not just stabbing him with it, but expressing it in.
yeah. So do that for yourself. Like that's the gift you give yourself, and it can be very pleasurable. It can be very pleasurable. So make your anger like on the other. Chogyam Trungpa talks about this. Pema Chodron talks about this. Like getting through like feeling an emotion so fully that there's actually pleasure on the other side. There's actually joy on the other side. We've all had that experience. So that I would do that for you and make it about you loving you, you honoring you, you being unconditionally friendly to the part of you that's heartbroken and angry, right? And then bringing your higher heart to blessing him on his way. And because I know both things are true. Both things are true. So you just honor both fully. I mean, and we've all been there where we've like given our love, and somebody hasn't been able to fully receive it, and it's painful. And yet, you're right. If we want to love fully, right? If you want to love fully, it's not going to be safe. Never. There's no conscious man that's going to be safe enough for you to give your love fully without any right? Just like there's no devotional woman that's going to be safe enough for the love that I want to bring all the time. It's just we're going to be messy, and we're going to be selfish, and we're going to be unconscious at times, and we're going to fuck up. And part of this teaching today is I want to give you guys the tool to recognize, oh shit, I'm fucking up right now. It's not that we're not going to stop fucking up, it's that we're going to be more aware when we do, and we're going to be more aware when we're in this space of blame and collapse, and come out of it faster. So I gave a lot. I hope that gives you enough to work with.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Anna. Nice to talk to you.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, so we'll go to Chloe next.
Hey, John.
Hey, Chloe. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's been a while.
Salud.
Salud. So, a little update on what's happened since the last time we talked. Since the end of April, beginning of May, when my situationship ended again, and I had blocked him on everything. I made a commitment that I was doing a 3-month no sex at all cleanse for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 3 days into it, I was like, actually, I'm going to extend this even deeper. And it's not necessarily going to be a set amount of time of no sex. But the new rule is, if you can't say that we're in a relationship and you're my man, then you can't be inside me. Just that's it.
That sounds lovely.
And it's been very limiting, I'll tell you what, in terms of who's ready for commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that earliest container of it, just we're in a relationship. So since April, nothing. And there have been people who have come in and sort of test for me, who were blowing me away, and then really were like, nope, I'm not ready for a relationship. And I was like, okay, well then my exact words were something like, I'm not looking for anything ambiguous anymore. So
yeah,
be friends with somebody and have sexual tension. So when you're ready, see if I'm single. And that's it.
Okay.
And then
so let me just spread this out for everybody else, for our viewers here. What I see you doing here is honoring a need, right? Like I have a need for a closed, committed container, okay? At this point in my life. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Right. Or for commitment, or for monogamy, or for devotion, right? A certain kind of devotion, right? And so you're honoring that need, and then choosing not to have sex with somebody until that need is being honored, right? So, or at least the possibility of it, right? There's no guarantees, right? That I just want to point that out, that that's a need. Like it's not, you're not being rigid, you're not being unreasonable. It's a form of self-love. Yeah. And rare art is rare. So, there's shit art and there's rare art, right? And, rare art is rare for a reason. And so making love in a devotional space is a rare form of art. And we get addicted to it and we love it and we want more of it. All of us do. And, and that kind of sex, even in long-term committed relationships, can be rare. It can be rare because so many things have to be right. There has to be so much love and so much trust and so much generosity and so much that it can be rare. And sometimes we take those moments and those spaces for granted. So I'm trying to just give a little context to what you're looking for is rare, even in long-term, even in committed relationships. It's rare. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not ways to get more of it and amplify it and make it longer and make it better, but it takes work. It takes a fuck ton of work. And I just want to honor that what you're doing is the work. Continue. Sorry, yeah.
The work's been getting a lot harder because the original man came back. Even though everything was blocked, he connected through me through a mutual friend. And basically, when we talked again, he said, I know I was a dick, and all of your anger was justified, and I would really like to start fresh, and there's a lot of hurt, so we would have to start fresh, because if we bring all of that into it, it's not going to be a good place to start. But I want us to officially date. I want us to be dating. And I said, okay. I was like, I need some time to process that. And then I had some therapy. I sat with it for a while. And when I went back to him, I said, I want to be clear on a couple things. One, my rule is still the same. Until you can say we are in a relationship, no, you're not going to be inside me.
Okay.
And two, after 2.5 years that I'm looking for a relationship because I want a family. That's where I'm moving into in my life. So you can't use it against me going forward as oh, I'm not sure I can give you what you want, because you know what I want from the beginning. And if you can't give it to me, then that's fine, but I'm not going to do this again.
Right.
And he agreed to both of those. And
okay.
It's been good. And he's really been he's changing. He's putting in more work. He's trying to be more present. He's being more communicative. He's making.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Is he still won't say we're in a relationship. So now it's been
he hasn't said it to you? He won't say it to you, or where won't he say it?
To me,
he says, no, we're not in a relationship. We're just having sex. We're just.
Sure. He's like, I'm not sure. He's like, it's not you. I just don't know if I want to jump into this being a relationship yet. In his mind,
but that was one of your terms. So now I'm going to go back to just like I said, that was one of your terms. Okay. Yes. So does that mean he's seeing other people? Does that mean he's just seeing you? So now we get into the thing of what you need versus what you think you need. Okay. So without him saying it to you, you guys are in a devotional monogamous relationship. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Do you really need him to say it? And I'm asking this sincerely. I don't know. I'm asking you, like, you can feel that's what he's giving you, but for some reason he just can't say it.
Right.
And do you need him to say it to you to continue? Or do you think you need it?
I think I need it to feel, I'm getting emotional, but to feel safe enough to have him inside me again. Yeah.
Okay. So if that's it, like I need to be, you got to tell me I'm your girl. You got to tell me I'm your woman. You got to tell me I'm your lover. You got to tell me it's just me. You got to tell me that it's us. You got to tell me, like, I can't let go. If that's true. Right?
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, and if you don't do that, where are you on the triangle?
So I'm doing that. Like, okay,
right.
I'm going to get real detailed.
Okay.
We were together the other night, and I spent the night, and we slept in the same bed, and we were very intimate, but he respected my boundaries. Right? So we're fooling around, and we're both like, fuck, I wish we could just fuck.
Right.
He was like, well, now who's being stubborn? Because you're the one who's saying, no, we can't. And I pushed back, and I was like, it's still you, because I'm
okay. So again. So now, who's the I really want you to see this, Chloe. Who's the perpetrator?
Well, I feel like it's still him.
Okay. So you're making him the perpetrator, and you know that if you're in a space, like if you guys are jumping into heavy petting, chances are, like, this is not news to you that you're going to want to have sex with each other. I mean, I'm not asking you to take a huge leap, right? So there is a certain level of awareness that this is how this works, and I'm not serving you by letting you get away with it. Your boundaries are all clean and they're all beautiful and they feel great. But if you're going to and it's hard because you have to kind of play the masculine. You have to be aware to go, we can't get into this until like we're a thing, until we're a relationship. Or we can get into it this much. Or we can totally get into it and I'm fine with not having sex, right? And so this is the way that we all, I'm not just saying you, but I'm using you as an example because you're here talking to me. This is how you unconsciously drop into being a victim versus being a creator. Like, here's what I need from you. Here's what I need for us, right? That's very powerful. It's very empowering. And then, like, yes, but he's still not giving it to me. Yes, but he's still not saying it. Yes, we still can't, you know what I mean? Then you drop back into it. And so at some point, you are going to have to decide, in my opinion, like, how much do you want to wait? And maybe it's only a month, or like, hey, I love that you are taking your time to make sure that you're a hell yes for us. I love that, but I only have a certain amount of time. And if this guy's for 2.5 years kind of wasted your time, it's not like you have no track record. Not wasted your time, but not been able to give you what you needed. And you're still in it. So you're not a victim. You're choosing to co-create this.
So then, and I guess where I get stuck is he is showing up in.
So this is the classic feminine thing. Like, he's showing up and he's meeting these needs, but this one fucking need that is like crucial for me, he's not meeting, and so I'm just gonna forget. I see this with women all the time, men too, but really with women. He's not meeting the one need that matters most to me. Now, when that happens, you have to ask yourself two things. Do I really need this need met? And you've answered that question, right? So that's sometimes we think we need something and we really don't. It's like it's a rigid piece of our safety structure. So you were clear. I do need that need. I need him to choose me and say that I'm his girl, his woman, we're together, whatever you want to do, call it. So, or you're going to unconsciously fall into the same dynamic of feeling victimized by his lack of claim. And that's the role you've been in for 2.5 years, so it's not new, and I'm not serving you by not... This is the drama triangle right here. So you're coming to me as the savior. You're the victim. He's the perpetrator. Do you guys all see this? Right? Whoever you talk to about this, you're now, as the victim, going to them and saying, hey, save me. Give me information. See my story. Hear my thing. Witness me in this victim position. And I'm being super, I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just trying to be super clear. Like, this is how the victim thing works. When I go to my men friends and I say, my life is such a fucking burden. Everybody just wants everything from me. Like, everybody just is like, everybody wants a piece of me. And I'm talking to my men's group about that. I'm the victim. Y'all are the perpetrators. Life is the perpetrator. And I'm going to them, asking them to, kind of be my saviors. And luckily, they say, shut the fuck up. Like, you're choosing this. Your life is fucking amazing. Like, be grateful for everything that you have. And they kind of da-da-da. So I'm trying to do that in a way. I'm not saying shut the fuck up. I'm saying this is a men's group, so that's kind of normal stuff. I'm trying to say this is the dynamic that you've been unconsciously kind of playing for years. And so what do you want to create from this? What do you want to create? And if what you want to create matches what he wants to create, then you guys are aligned. If not, then staying too much longer will just put you right back in being the victim. And I will say this too. He may be unconsciously playing the perpetrator, manipulating you into a position that he knows you don't want to be into. And you might actually call him out. Say, look, motherfucker, you knew who I was. You knew what I needed, and you're here telling me you can't give it to me, but wanting us to get back into this same dynamic. That is a perpetrator. Are you a perpetrator? That's abuse. Are you abuser? Are you an abuser? Like, you're manipulating me into this. You're trying to manipulate me into this without actually giving me the thing that you know I've wanted. It's not been unclear. So I think calling him out a little bit is also appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So yes, you have to look at yourself. But when you're like, hey, I've been the victim here. I've been falling into it, but you knew what I wanted. You knew what I needed. It's not been unclear, and you've been kind of withholding it from me. Why are you doing that? Why would you hook me again, knowing what I need, and not give it to me? Unless there's some cruelty in this for you, or something. I mean, fucking be direct. And find out, like, is he willing to look at his part in this dynamic? So that's where I can't wait to tune in a couple months and see where things are. But that would be my suggestion for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good luck, Chloe. All right. I want to give you guys, before I take another question, I want to give you guys 5 minutes and write down where you see yourselves in this scenario. Just take 5 minutes, and then I'll take more questions when you guys come back. But I want everybody to take 5 minutes and write the triangle down, and then underneath it, write where you are the perpetrator unconsciously. Right? We all do it. If you're a masculine person who has complained about the burden of your feminine partner, of her emotional body or anything like that, then that's you being the perpetrator. Right? That it's subtle, and it's not, but it's there, right? If you've complained that you're not getting enough, right, from somebody who you know can't give it to you or won't give it to you, then just like we said with Chloe, you're playing the victim. So be honest with yourself for 5 minutes. So it's just shy of 8 o'clock now, my time. I'm going to come back at 8:05, and I'll take more questions, but I want you guys all to write this down and take a good hard look at where this dynamic might apply to you. Okay, Nicolette, you got time for me?
Yeah, we'll see you all
Awesome.
at 4 after the hour. Okay, we're back at the 4 after the hour.
Okay. So the thing I really want to impress is an awareness of how we move from victim to perpetrator. That's such a strong word, and it's got such a heavy, connotation these days for good reason, but in the subtle ways that we do that, And I gave my example. I was talking with my partner last night, and this example of how I go from being the victim of my life, all the responsibility and people that love me and all this, my family and my friends and my clients and everything that want a piece of me, right? I go from that I go from being the victim to being a perpetrator in blaming her for wanting my attention, right? And so it's really easy to going to unconsciously shift between these things, and it's very subtle. And I love, I did a couple years work with a guy who is a really powerful shaman in the Carlos Castaneda lineage. He would probably be the lineage holder if he wanted it, but he doesn't. And one of the things that always impressed me about that kind of shamanistic work was that it required ruthless amounts of self-reflection. Like, I was actually shocked. It wasn't all just about plant medicine and, you know what I mean? and etheric travel. It was about how ruthlessly clear and honest and clean we could get in ourselves. And that concept, that kind of work is actually shamanic training, really, really impacted me. And for those who are in the men's program who know it, like those precepts that we have there, a lot of those are based on that kind of ruthless reflection and real deep, deep honesty. And I love that concept of it being actually part of shamanic practice. So I just want to give you that frame as we go into this. I'm not just trying to beat you up on this. I'm really trying to get you to reflect as a spiritual and shamanic practice.
So Bella, you are up next.
Just fully go into crying here, but I am in a...
That would be okay.
Okay. Definitely have been all over this triangle. Really working with a lot of these roles and like myself that really are fighting a little harder lately to protect myself. But there's kind of two pieces to this that are my question really. I'm in a masculine cleanse, which has been great. Love it. Should have done it sooner. Whatever. It's kind of, there's no end date, which I also really, really love. I've picked up a woman's group, like a pronouns container, which has been fantastic. I have a great community. I'm in somatic psychotherapy, doing all the trauma work. Really, really deep stuff. I'm grateful to have all that support, and I'm green to these practices. I'm new. I've been just kind of figuring out. I don't think I've ever fully been in my body. More and more as time goes on, but there's some 12-step related journeys to that, and whatever, just life and mommy daddy issues. And what I'm noticing in the masculine cleanse lately is like just some of the discord between body and mind, where I'll go out into the world and maybe feeling a lot of grief and being able to like carry that and feel okay with that, and not necessarily try to hide it, but not become just the victim and grief. Because it has, as great as the cleanse has been, I've only ever really known like chaos in that realm, physically, emotionally, whatever. Being able to carry my grief out into the world and not fall apart has been a big deal. But
Well, let me just, I want to touch on a few things here, okay? So grief in its pure state, right? Is beautiful. When we attach a story to it, The story of they didn't, I'm always, they never, it's gonna be, you know, I mean, look, we all do it. I do it. We've all done it. But that's where we go from being a purely feeling yogi, like the yoga of feeling, the yoga of feeling grief. And here's the thing I learned about grief. Grief is a rapacious creditor. Grief will demand payment. No matter who we put in our way, we can get in a relationship, we can work more, right? You know, I tried both of those things after Claire died, and grief still won. And so surrendering to the grief, while I didn't talk about this yet, but I think it's important, and I want to bring it to you as a practice, right? So if you could feel the grief, I mean, I know it's in there now, I can feel it now, right? So if you feel the grief, like, just close your eyes for a moment and go into like the center of the grief, wherever it is, in your heart, your belly. Just bring your awareness to the center of it. And just feel the truth of it. And there's a certain beauty in the truth of that grief, is there not? Yeah, it's just pure. It's pure. And feel the truth of it. And maybe you can even make a sigh or a sound from the center of it. And the more you increase your feeling, you're doing beautiful, you're doing beautiful. The more you can stay with the feeling and bring your awareness to the feeling, the deeper your practice. So in that space of pure feeling and pure awareness of just the grief itself, there's no story. You know what I'm saying? Can you feel what I'm saying? Okay. That is the deepest practice. That is the deepest practice. And and it's hard to do because our egos and our minds and our histories want to create story. But that in and of itself, the purity, like your grief is beautiful, right? Everybody can see it. It's beautiful. And you're feeling it. And you're feeling it fully. And you know, you said you're new to this, to these practices and getting it in your body. That's the practice I would give you. Is you go to the truth of the grief, or of the longing, or of the loneliness, or of the hopelessness, whatever you want to call it. Self-loathing. I mean, I've done all those, right? I've done all those. You go into the core of it, and you feel it fully. You can put on some music, you can move, but you bring your awareness to the feeling. Not what most people do, which is to have the feeling and then let their awareness create a story of thought around it. You get the difference? Yeah.
I won't take up too much time, but it's just I just set a boundary with my dad a couple years ago. Like, we're not talking.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Brazil, so you know, I'm far away from my culture, from my roots, from my people.
Yeah.
And I've been so in, I mean, not only the victim, but definitely I mean, whatever, all of it. I can't deny that. I definitely had my, like, fuck my parents time, like, you guys fucked me up, and here's a mess, you know. But now it's like, I kind of outgrew that pretty quickly, but like in this cleanse and like having more room, like not only does my body no longer respond to that anymore, like being like, I have, it's almost like it got fried in my experiences, but like then just sitting here talking about like the boundaries, just like sticking the finger in that bullet wound. Like, I heard this story about my dad's upbringing that really just like clicked so many things into place, and like I was so overwhelmed with like this compassion that I had never ever felt before. And he's not a terrible person, but like he could not be in my life, and it's starting to like kind of float back up that like I'm getting this nudge to like reconnect, but I don't trust the space that that's coming from, because if I'm like just in grief or like flip-flopping between victim and persecutor, like I don't feel like, I'm gonna rip his head off. I'm like, that's not what I want to do, and that's what I've always done.
Okay, because I only have a couple minutes. I want to give you two things to work with. I want you to write 2 letters, okay? One letter is where you're, and this actually, I got this practice from Al-Anon, so if you're a 12-step person, you know this. You may know this. One letter is everything that your dad did beautiful for you. Every beautiful memory, every gift, every trait, everything that he did beautiful for you. At some point, you might read that to him. Then the second letter is everything he did to hurt you. Everything he did to hurt you. And the neglect or the abuse or whatever it is, right? It feels pretty deep and feels pretty gnarly. And that you give to the divine. That you give to the divine. I mean, in a ceremony, like go out to the fucking desert, light a bonfire, like, whatever you need to do. It could be in your living room too. But you create a ritual of that, of giving that pain to the divine, and then giving the gratitude for the human who tried their best to him. And that is a very freeing practice. Both of those things equal weight, just as much to the gratitude as to the pain. And I just want to say, Bella, like, it feels like you're waking up to something that has needed to be felt for years. So give it time. This is for all of you. Give it space, my love. Like, you're in a cleanse. That's great. That's fucking great. Do you know Kendra? Do you know Kendra Kunoff?
Yes.
Okay, Kendra's a great person to support with this stuff, and a women's group, and just being part of, like, it's a really courageous, beautiful thing you're doing, and just keep giving it space, because it's like a wound that needs to be cleaned multiple times before it heals. And it's not going to happen in a few weeks or even a few months. It might take a couple of years. Sorry. It might. But there'll be moments of deep opening. You know what I mean? It's not linear. It'll be like but you're going to keep going up. You're going to keep elevating if you stay in it. Because you're on a good path. I can feel your courage. I can feel your willingness. I can feel your openness. I can feel your love. I can feel all those things. And so even though you feel messy, you seem messy to yourself, you feel good to me. And so I guess I'll just say this. Don't use yourself to gauge how you're doing. Yeah, of course, in your intuitive heart and connecting to your intuitive heart, but most of the time, we're going to sell ourselves short. We're going to think we're not doing it enough. We're not doing it fast enough. We're not doing it good enough. Let other people feel you and reflect back how you're doing, right? And so to me, Bella, I think you're doing great, even though I know it's painful and messy. And I'm sorry, I know this is a big thing to try to tackle in 10 minutes, but I would try those 2 letters, and maybe in a year or 2 or 3, you'll actually read that to your father. I'm not in great contact with my father anymore. I was for a long time, but I read him that letter, and it's still one of the things I still have a boundary with him, a very strong boundary with him, and yet reading him that letter was one of the highlights of my life and his life, and I will never forget it. I'll go to the grave feeling super grateful that I gave him that. It cleared something for me so I could move on.
Yeah, it's definitely feeling like
Yeah. It's normal. Like, I know it seems like this is a never-ending pool of grief, but this is warrior's work, my love. Good luck. All right, guys, I'm sorry I could not get to everybody. Hopefully you were able to take something out of what I said and something of this training into your life, and really, really appreciate this. I'm going to turn it to Nicolette. Do you have anything to say to close, Nicolette?
Yeah, thanks, John. So those of you who raised your hand and didn't get to ask a question, it is totally fine. I wrote you on my list, so if you raise your hand next time, I'll keep my eye out for you. I'm also putting in the chat the links for Claire's Place Foundation again, so those are there for you. If you would like to donate, of course, this call is free, but we appreciate any support you can give to Claire's Place Foundation. We will be posting the recording of this to John's YouTube channel. All you have to do is search John Wineland YouTube and you'll find his channel. And so this will be posted by the end of the week on the YouTube channel and also on the virtual workshop. And that is johnwineland.com/streaming. I'll put that in the chat so you have access to that. We'll end the call in just a few minutes. And we'll see you all next time. We'll let you know when we have another call like this coming up. Thank you so much.